Over the course of the past 6 years, I've played a fair amount of games. If you look at the channel, I probably play, on average, 2 games a week. Not including those weeks where I decide to do like the best of the year of 1985 or one of those videos where I find loads of weird stuff on MAME. So all in all, I'd say probably around 700 games. Now, when I started the channel, I was talking about games that I loved. You know, things like WrestleFest or Vendetta. But most of the games that I play on the channel, I hadn't played before I started it. I found some really weird things that I didn't know existed. Stuff like the Maria Whittaker Christmas strip poker game or the Aloha Aloha Amiga game. March of the Penguins on the Game Boy Advance? That's mental. But the best thing about this channel is discovering these things. But also sometimes it's the worst because I've played some real stinkers that I'd never played before, and I played some really good games as well. And we're going to cover them in this here episode, where I'm going to look at the very best 10 games that I've discovered while making videos for this channel, and then the 10 worst games that I've discovered while playing games on this channel. Sounds like a good idea? Well, if it doesn't, then maybe you should stick around to after they're done, because I'm going to also use this opportunity to do what everyone should do when they get to 1,000 subscribers. I'm going to talk about channels that I think deserve your love. Now, these will be channels that will be under 1,000 subscribers. Some will be over 1,000 subscribers. But everyone should do this, I think, when they get to a milestone, because I wouldn't have got here if it wasn't for some of these channels. Either they've helped me, or they've inspired me, or they've just plain entertained me in different ways. But first and foremost, they're the video games. This game is, by any metric, pretty terrible. But damn the metrics. This is actually brilliant. Well, it's brilliant to me. It's technically quite polished, but it's nothing really more than a crappy quiz game about football from the turn of the millennium, which is the era of football where I was paying the most attention to it. So it's inflated my ego, and therefore it's really good. Yeah, I'm actually putting that crap to good use. I mean, it's a deeply personal choice, and I would recommend that next to no one else play it, but I really enjoy playing it. Sky Sports Football Quiz. Who'd have thunk it? Treasure Hunt. Wait, hold the phone. A Maxon TV based game? Maxon? Christ. Well, it also had dismal reviews, so this shouldn't be on this side of the list. It should be on to the worst list, shouldn't it? Yes, I am inflating its quality a lot, but I had a lot of fun playing it. How? Well, here's the rub. Had I played it in the mid-80s, I would have hated it, and rightly so. But what emulates it in the 2020s? Well, it's the internet. What would have been laborious back in 1986 or whenever this came out is a really fun clue hunt with the aid of the World Wide Web, the information superhighway. I think the inflation I've given it, it probably doesn't deserve in the slightest. It doesn't. I mean, look at it. But it certainly wasn't planned to be this good. I mean, they didn't know about the technical advancements in the next 40 years, did they? But I do have a soft spot for it. Wow, I managed to do that whole bit without mentioning Annika Rice and her bum once. Ah, damn it. I was brought up right. Don't let my cussing and sometimes weird behaviour fool you. I was taught at a fairly young age to be very suspicious of licensed cart games. There are a lot of awful ones, and I mean a lot. However, this definitely bucks the trend. It is a genuine hoot to play. It plays so well, and it's also packed to the gills with content, with love given to the furry children, if you like, of Jim Henson. The levels are based on scenes from the films, And there's even a bit of Fraggle Rock love in there. So, crikey, Fraggle bloody Rock, who'd have thunk it? Anyway, tons of modes and tons of fun. Have a go at Muppet Race Mania, please. Death Wish 3, yeah, while very beguiling at first about how you move about, Death Wish 3 proves to be a fascinating, addictive gem full of charm. You steer your digital Charles Brosnan about, blasting away hoodlums while trying to avoid killing grannies and prostitutes. What's not to like about that, eh? And it's way better than the movie too. The movie is dreck. Sorry, Michael Winner, but I'm glad you're dead. No, it's a bit much. I'm glad you're not making films anymore. Unless you're doing that in heaven or hell or wherever you are. Anyway. I don't like text adventures, and I've never listened to The Archers. But I do like this. Why? Well, I love a smartass, and whoever was given this job at Mosaic Software sure had a tough task. After all, they had to make a radio soap opera with no visuals into a video game. And you know what? They absolutely pulled it off. How? Well, they made the protagonist of the game the runners of the show itself. So your aim is to keep up the ratings, and you have to weigh up whether certain characters would act in a particular way and whether scandalous content might attract or deter fans. It's genius. They need to do this for Doctor Who and Star Wars fans though. Can you imagine? Don't put a Mary Sue in there, you'll scare them away, the middle-aged men. Minder was part of my childhood, even though I probably shouldn't have watched it because it was on quite late and I should have been in bed. But I'm not going to blame Dennis Waterman or George Cole for my current lowly station in life due to being tired at school. No, I will not do that. Especially when they have this absolutely perfect game concept tied to the franchise, coded by the legendary Don Priestley. You play as Arthur Daly and you have to buy and sell shonky goods while remaining out of the reach of that long arm of the law. Remember, it is quite long. Really clever, quite funny at times as well, just like Minder. It's not the best game ever, no, but alongside The Archers, it's probably the smartest use of a license that was possible on a 48k Spectrum. So, well done. Frenzy, yes, Frenzy. I'd never played this before. It was picked for the arcade challenge, but by Jove did I enjoy playing it. I went back to it for the rest of the week. It's simplistic Robotron in a maze fun that will slap you round your endorphin glands and will have you returning to it like a fat person at a Chinese buffet. You're probably an idiot and know about that game already. I'm really sorry if I'm preaching to the choir. But yeah, Frenzy, really good. If you've never played it, give it a go. Kyatyo Ninden Taiendi. Can I just call it Samurai Pizza Cats because that's what it is? Except it isn't, because it was a late NES title from a platform, I feel, or rather console, which had the best of these types of games on it, by far. I think there's no better console for 2D platformers than the NES. And it was a Japanese-only release, though, which is why I never got around to playing it. It's a huge shame, especially given that it was based on a cartoon that ended up being fairly popular over here, I believe, or at least in America. Yeah, it's inventive, it's lengthy, and it's gorgeous. It's a licensed title that I think that everyone should play. And to quote our Lord and Saviour, Metal Jesus Christ, it is a hidden gem. A gorgeous, if slightly unusual, use of that generation's most talked about footballer, Go-Go Beckham is a Game Boy Advance puzzle platformer that genuinely surprised me with its quality. Quite a decent challenge too, so well worth using your bus journey on. Certainly better than staring at the neck hair of the person sat in front of you, surely. Can we please have a sequel called Go-Go Bellingham, please? And I don't mean Linda Bellingham. Of course, I don't mean Linda Bellingham. She's no longer with us and she wasn't a footballer. I mean Jude Bellingham. You can even make it about Joe Bellingham. He plays for Sunderland, apparently. Just give me a sequel. dickheads. Yes, heavy smash, not a misogynist's view of pulling a fat girl though. I found this while doing a deep dive into MAME weirdness, and my word, what an incredible sports game this is. If it wasn't for Windjammers, this might be a contender for the best arcade sports title of all time. If Speedball 2 is seen as the SWAS of future sports games, this has got to be the ISS. Both terrific variants of the similar sport, viewed from different perspectives. If you got a dodgy MAME file, and God knows I know that you have, I've been through your computer, stop this video immediately and seek it out. I won't tell Data East. ALF. Yes, the 80s TV alien is desperate to ascend to the safety of deep space and far away from any copies of this Master System arse candle. It's an illogical adventure game that seems to be, at best, unfinished. It is execrable stuff and rightly finds its spot on this list of horrors. ALF. My favourite genre when I was a wee nipper was the scrolling beat-em-up. Probably because I was imminently bullyable with a punchable face. Maybe it was an empowerment thing. Nowadays, I go back and I play them and think, ugh, this is repetitive. And yeah, I'm even talking about stuff like Streets of Rage 2, Final Fight and Shredder's Revenge. They just get a little bit tiresome to me now. Admittedly, because my attention span is wrecked by social media and short-form videos. However, Mug Smashers is really not going to change my mind on this at all. The Italian Anglo scrolling beat-em-up, surely a very singular origin for this type of game in an arcade, is an artless slog that looks like it was designed and drawn by a 13-year-old boy who's a sugar cube away from type 2 diabetes. Rotten to look at, even more rotten to play, and not nearly as excitingly cockney as the name suggests. Mug Smashers. Yeah. I wasn't really sure what to expect when I played Rock'em Sock'em Robots. I mean, the toy it's based on is very basic, as long as it's not a one-on-one recreation of the boxing plastic pugilists. I think we'd all be good, wouldn't we? And thankfully, there is a bit more to it, but not much more. What we get is a more basic, unhyped version of Rise of the Robots, but with less character, worse graphics, and no moves at all. Does that sound awful? Well, that's because it is. It is Riseable of the Robots. The Mission, a game so recent to my channel that the video for this isn't actually uploaded yet, so I won't spoil it for now, beyond it being dire enough to make it into my top 10. That should give you a little sneaky peek on how shite this game is. Guardians of the Hood is a spiritual sequel to Pit Fighter, one of my most hated games, and it was deliberately and maliciously picked in the Arcade Challenge playlist by Anthony of Raven Gaming, the dickhead. Guardians of the Hood came at what I would consider gaming's darkest period. That era just before the PlayStation came along, when the big gaming fad was full motion video and even worse, digitised sprites. There's something about the look of a pre-rendered sprite on a background that has always made me feel rage-filled and uncomfortable. They look separate from the backgrounds. They're just ugly. My dislike of the look of pre-rendered sprites is so strong that I don't even like the most beloved exponents of that art style. They are ruined for me by that look. And I'm talking about things like Donkey Kong Country, Mortal Kombat, NBA Jam. I hate those games, even though I know they're good. So Guardians of the Hood, which has been thought of as one of the worst arcade games of all time, boy oh boy, it's like someone has dragged me to the stationery cupboard and hole punched my scrotum. Genuinely the worst scrolling beat-em-up I have ever played, until I played that Last Action Hero game on the Amiga. Automan. It's not only the Spectrum that has horrors in the days of the 8-bits, as this game on Commodore's machine proves. and it's an exclusive TV series adaptation too, narrowly beating that similarly exclusive but this time to the Amstrad game Dempsey and Makepeace for a place on this council of colon produce. Automan is an utterly broken failure of a platformer, shambolic by any metric. Near everyone has forgotten the show upon this was based, and perhaps it's for the best. We give this absolute rump butter the bum's rush too. Next. Golden Balls is on the surface an accurate recreation of the daytime game show, just with scary looking contestants. It absolutely serves its mission statement well. It plays Golden Balls very accurately. What it set out to do? Fine. The issue is that there's not a lot to the game show it's based on beyond the poker psychology of its contestants, and B, that's not in there whatsoever at all. You're just clicking buttons. There's no quiz questions. It's nothing. It's a nothing game. It's utterly pointless, and the fact that this has made the list ahead of Russell Grant's Astrology should tell you everything that you need to know. Virus, based on a very forgettable Jamie Lee Curtis film, is a PlayStation survival horror game, and it is a very, very, very bad one. The growing pains associated with gaming's first steps into three-dimensional game movement that the 32-bit era welcomed are very evident with this one, I'm afraid. It is barely playable, it looks absolutely dire, and will make you pine for the days of 16-bit games. Had you got this at release, you may well have gone back to R Price or Dixon's or HMV and said, look, give me my money back, I need to go and buy my Super Nintendo back off the special needs kid down the road. I played a lot of terrible games on the Spectrum Games based on TV shows series over the years, and what surprised me is, although Auf Wiedersehen Pet and Supergram were bad, they weren't as bad as the couple that will be rounding out this list. One of them was a game that I played fairly early in the channel's history, mainly because when I found it while doing research on Spectrum videos, I was cock-a-hoop to find out that one of my favourite shows and toy lines had a computer game. I had no idea whatsoever, so I just had to play it. And that soon turned to disappointment because, well, look at it. Just look at it. It makes no use of the license either, and to make matters worse, the video I made of it was one of the worst I've ever made, and it ended up being really popular in the early days of my channel. So when I look back to think about how long it's taken me to get to 1,000 subscribers, well, it's probably because of how shit that video was. So I've got two things to blame Centurions for. Bloody modular dickheads. And here it is, the worst game I've ever played, but it's not one you traditionally would hear about. Indeed, in the press at the time, it got fairly average reviews. However, I have a really short fuse when it comes to frustrating games, and I just couldn't do this at all. I looked up guides, I tried multiple times to get the game to work properly, but I just couldn't get off of that first screen, no matter how much I tried. I even looked up to see if it had some sort of weird copy protection, but of course it didn't. It's just crap. The idea of my Spectrum's games based on TV show series was that I had to cover every game, so I couldn't even pass on it. I had to play it. And when you couldn't get off the first few screens, it makes for a really crap video. It ruined my afternoon, it ruined the video, and it made me look a right putz in front of everyone looking at that video. I hate it. Drown the pink puss in Pepto-Bismol, the vandal of enjoyment. I never wish to see this game ever again. Rinky Dink Panther my dick. There's a lot of really good creators out there, and they all deserve the love. But before I get to the channels and boosting them, I'd like to say a little thank you to the people that have helped me along the way from a personal point of view, like my son William, Mariam, Terry, John Hickmott, Michelle, Tim Matt, Bronny, Ben. You've all helped me at different stages of this process, so thank you a lot. But let's talk a bit now about some of the people that have inspired me and some of the people who should inspire you to start your own channel if you've not done that yet. The first person I want to talk about is Bazza H, who's since moved on to better things, and by that I don't mean he's dead or anything, but his channel was a huge inspiration to me when I started mine, partly because he was gloriously lo-fi, spoke about Spectrum, and it sort of let me know that having an engaging personality is the biggest part of this. He never was that great at editing. I think he'd admitted himself. He gave me really good advice at the beginning, such as like using Spanish and Russian keywords in Spectrum videos. There's a tip I'm now passing on to anyone who wants to do ZX Spectrum videos. And his enthusiasm for all that dusty collecting hoary old tech is certainly a counter to my miserable whining about games. Great bloke, great channel. Shame he's still not doing it. Another person who helped me out quite early on was Douglas Titchmarsh. He's another old boy who took me under his wing, like I was his foal or something. Do foals have wings? I'm pretty sure they don't. But yes, he offered to give me a little snippet for my Dukes of Hazzard review, completely unprompted. It showed me that it's not just about making videos, but also the community around it too. His channel is still very small, but it's clearly a hobby he loves, and he should be a first stop if you want to see someone even worse than me at arcade games, or that nichest of video types, the CD32 demo scene. Great guy, deserves more love. Then I've got one to talk about Real Generic Demon and Retro 48K. They put up with a lot of my, off-colour comments on the short-lived podcast. God bless them. Retro 48K has now sort of left the retro game sphere of YouTube to paint greater beasts of Nurgle and Gene Stealers. He's extremely helpful with creating intro sequences for channels. Again, he does this completely unprompted. He's done it for a lot of channels in the community. He's an editorial marvel, so he is. So let's try and beckon him back like the dove from above in Shooting Stars. But don't coo, say clop, as he loves the red team from Merseyside town. Clop, clop. Real Generic Demon was, again, really helpful. He gave me more shout-outs than Lulu at Glastonbury. Did you get that joke? I hope so. Yeah, he's an amiable chap too, and he can make multiple failed Spectrum loading attempts actually entertaining on his What's on the Tape show, where he loads up whatever's on a battered old C90 from Boots. Also, he does more modern stuff too, so he has his feet in both camps like a mighty colossus. Then there's Dave Birdsall of Dave Plays Games Badly. He's got a self-effacing charm that is just infectious. He's a big collector. Normally I don't go big in for the collection videos, but there's so much enthusiasm from him that it's hard not to be taken on this wife unsettling journey with him. Plus he keeps trying to quit and failing, so there's that schadenfreude of watching a crack addict failing to kick his habit. Plus I find a lot of his Spectrum opinions run alongside mine. Renegade is probably one of the best Spectrum games ever made. And Dizzy, it's a bit overrated, isn't it? He's like an echo chamber buddy, but in cyan, because cyan is a colour on the spectrum, isn't it? Then there's Frank, or Carl, whatever you want to call him, from Life is a Game. He's given me some really good advice, even recently, so thank you to you, sir. Anthony Walker. A Manchester United fan, but don't hold that against him. He was absolutely instrumental in spurring me into looking at the other 8-bit computers other than the Spectrum when I'd finished the Spectrum games based on TV show series. Great move as well for me. Thanks for owning a grey bread bin as a child, Anthony. I also think he needs to make more edited videos, and maybe your subscription to his channel will spur him into doing that. If only so he doesn't get typecast as the channel that did that one video about anime girls farting, which is bigger than any of the videos I've ever done. And yeah. Simon Hadder Pyman. Now this chap is just starting out in doing edited videos, and he's got some really big good ideas, and he's got this enthusiasm for learning about it as well, and he's buying all the right software, and he's just getting into it at the moment, and you can tell he's got like this dedication of Slope's Game Room or Kim Justice in terms of kind of how much he's going to be putting into each game. And I find that really, really interesting, and something that I couldn't do because I've got the attention span of an ADHD goldfish. But as soon as he gets his ideas in order and he's practiced his editing, he's going to be quite big, I think. So getting on the ground floor with him. Generation Pixel, really, really superb content creator from north of the border. I absolutely adore his year review videos. He's an absolutely superb editor. He's genial to a fault. And it's my great pleasure that I keep introducing him to absolute swill video games that he simply has to then go and play. Super Jim Tendo. Jim is in it for the love of the game. Or games. He loves talking to people who love games. The more obscure the better, and he doesn't care for any of that subscribers gatekeeping or any of that malarkey tosh at all. Subscribe to his channel and then be surprised when he uploads a wry dig at someone taking themselves too seriously in a video that lasts about 38 seconds. He's that kind of creator, but he's good with it. Daft to the B. Daft to the B. Don't let that name put you off. Or the name of our main series, which is Crap Content. It's anything but. It's the most distinct style on retro gaming YouTube. You will either get it or you won't, but those who do are all in on this. Innovation is so rare with content creation, and it's difficult on the YouTubes to the point that I don't even try to do anything different. But Daft does, and Daft does it very well. Do have a look at the channel, and I wonder if you'll like it. I hope you do. What hosts Snorkers? The man of 1,000 costumes is another innovator who mainly likes, and rather him than me, looking at those typing games from magazines back in the day, and he sort of adds his own stuff to them and makes them much better. That's really cool, isn't it? Like, I don't know many other people. I don't know any other channel that does that. Literal coding. My brain would explode if I tried to do it. Not only does Snorker's brain not collapse, but he fixes the code so well and improves upon it that you'll be amazed at what he can do. Loves Minder as well, so he can't be that bad, can he? There are others too. Please check out the RetroTech 120p challenge. We do need new people to start up on that. That'd be lovely if they could. You don't even have to talk about genitals like I do. In fact, I insist you don't, because that's gimmick infringement, isn't it? But the guys on there, like Retro Masters, Rabid Wolverine, and Self-Indulgent Gamer, they deserve a pork chop or two for their efforts, and they'll want to see your skills as well. So do join in with that. If you're just starting your content creation journey, that's a good place to start as well, because they're nice and easy to make, these arcade videos, and you could make chums and get an audience going there. Retro Bear was really kind to me, as was Geordie Slasher Gaming. Just Joe, he is a real American hero because he sort of shouts about people on Twitter. Completely unprompted. Every Saturday I'll make a big list, so thanks Just Joe for your efforts and your continued efforts of that. There's tons of others. Sorry if I haven't mentioned you. I forget things. I'm like Columbo, but without the positive aspects. I'm forgetful and I stink. That's me and Columbo. No savant crime detection, though. But yeah, the idea for doing this, of talking about other people's videos, that came from a guy who's just blown up, who was Rose Tinted Spectrum. Whereas it took me 6 years to get to 1,000, he got it in about 3 months. And why? Because he's much better than me. So if you haven't jumped on his bandwagon yet, bloody well do so, because he's really good at what he does. Then there's the really big channels that inspired me as well. Slopes, Larry Bundy, AVGN, GameSack, the remnants of the Super Best Friends, Mr. Biffo and Digitizer and all that, and Kim Justice. Kim Justice will maintain as the best game documentarian, and definitely wrestling documentarian, if you like that as well, on YouTube. They don't need me to talk about them, though, as I am just a small town bird lawyer. But they were certainly, especially Mr. Biffo. If you're of a certain age, you'll know that Digitizer is very influential on retro gaming channels. But yeah, they're the reason that I started carving chunks out of my social life. You're all bastards. So yeah, you're all bastards, but I love you all, and I'm not going anywhere quite yet. So thanks for joining me on this shit journey. But yes, like, subscribe. Okay, thanks, bye.